This program is about the speaking section of an English test like the IELTS. I'm going to focus on Part A, where you're required to talk about familiar topics like shopping, sport, work, hobbies, free time activities, reading, writing, family, just general topics that should be familiar to you. Now, surprisingly, many students have difficulty even with Part A of the IELTS. So it's important to take the time to prepare and do lots of speaking practice before you attend the exam interview. One of the common mistakes that students have is when they answer questions, sometimes they use the wrong verb tense. So how do you know which is the correct verb tense to use? The choice of verb in your answer usually mirrors the verb tense in the question. So if I ask a question like, what do you do in your free time? The verb do is in the present tense, so your answer should use present tense verbs. In my free time, I like to swim, I play tennis, and I go shopping. Like, play, go are all present tense verbs. If I asked a question like, what did you study at school? The key verb here is did. Simple past tense. So we're talking about completed actions in the past, and your choice of verbs should also be in the correct past tense form. So you might say when I was at school, I studied English, maths and science, and I also studied music and art. And the verbs are was, studied and studied, all past tense verbs. Now, if you don't speak English much with your friends or your English teachers, then it is a good idea before you do an interview that you practice and prepare. You can practice speaking with your friends, speaking with your teachers, recording your voice, playing back and correcting your answers, talking on the telephone, but take the time to practice speaking so that when you go to an interview, you can confidently answer questions. Remember, if you're talking about past events or actions completed in the past, use the simple past tense. And if you're talking about timeless truths, facts, generalizations, everyday activities, or what you're doing at present, then probably you'll use the simple present tense. Here's a few examples of some questions and see if you can pick the verb tense. What do you do in your free time? Do, present tense. Where do you live? Again, do, present tense. Where did you do your primary school? Did, past tense. What programs do you like watching on TV? Again, do, present tense. What kind of transport do you prefer? Again, do, simple present tense. What foods do you like? Again, do, present tense. Have you been on holidays abroad? Have and been is the present perfect tense. And your answer might be, I have been abroad. I went to Mexico in 1999. So you might begin your answer with the present perfect tense, but when you start talking about past events, you will switch tense to the simple past. What sports did you play when you were young? Did, simple past tense. Now, I'm not suggesting that during the interview, during the English test interview, you concentrate on listening for the verb tense in the question. This should be automatic, and your choice of verb tenses in your answer should also be quite automatic. Your focus in the interview should be on the meaning of the question, and your choice of verb tenses should be automatic. In a practice situation, if you have trouble with the verb tenses, then you need to do more practice. The key is practice and prepare properly before you do the test. Now, the speaking section of an English test is generally the easiest section for most students. The majority of students have more difficulty with the writing section of a test. So you might like to look at some of the programs about writing IELTS essays that are available on YouTube and my website. Remember, it is important to prepare for all sections of the English exam before you sit for that exam. I'll be back with more about the IELTS speaking and writing IELTS essays.